The heat inside mineshaft Omega-7 was unbearable. Kang Day wiped the sweat from his forehead and continued swinging his pick at the red crystal embedded in the rock wall. His muscles screamed with pain, but he could not stop. The Dravik's overseers did not accept rest. They did not accept weakness. They only accepted results. Around him, dozens of other humans worked in silence. The only sounds were metal striking stone, heavy breathing, and the occasional crack of an energy whip when someone moved too slowly. Day had learned long ago not to make noise. Noise attracted attention. Attention brought punishment. He glanced at the crystal as it finally broke free from the wall. The starfire crystal glowed with an inner light pulsing like a heartbeat. These crystals powered the entire Dravik's empire. They powered their ships, their weapons, their cities, and humans died every day to dig them from these hellish mines. Day placed the crystal in his collection bucket and moved to the next section of wall. His hands were covered in scars from 28 years of this work. He had been born in these mines. His mother died giving birth to him. His father died in a cave collapse when Day was 7. All he had left was his sister Bora, who worked in the processing plants above. A whistle sounded. Break time, 15 minutes to drink water and rest before returning to work. Day sat against the tunnel wall and pulled out a small piece of dried food from his pocket. It tasted like ash, but it kept him alive. An older man sat beside him. Park Tae had been working these mines for over 30 years. His hair was completely gray and his body was thin and bent. But his eyes still held a spark of something that most slaves had lost. Hope, maybe, or perhaps just stubbornness. You were watching the patrol patterns again, Tae said quietly. His voice was barely above a whisper. Speaking too much during breaks was discouraged. Day nodded slightly. He had been keeping track of when the Dravik's guards changed shifts, when they were most alert, when they were most tired. He carved his observations into small stones and hid them in various places around the mine. He did not know why he did this. Perhaps it made him feel like he still had some control over his life. My boy, Tae said, his voice sad. You need to let go of these dreams. There is no escape from this place. The Dravik's control everything. They control the ships, the weapons, the sky itself. We are nothing but tools to them. Then why do you tell me stories about Earth? Day asked. Why do you tell me about forests and oceans and cities made by humans? Tae was silent for a moment. Then he smiled, showing his missing teeth. Because remembering is the only freedom they cannot take from us. But remembering and escaping are different things. One keeps you alive, the other gets you killed. Before Day could respond, the whistle sounded again. Break was over. Everyone stood and returned to their workstations. Day picked up his collection bucket and moved deeper into the tunnel system. This section was newer, less stable. The Dravik's were pushing the miners to dig faster, deeper to extract more crystals for their war efforts. Hours passed. Day's arms felt like dead weight. His vision blurred from exhaustion, but he kept working. Stop working and you died. That was the only rule that mattered. Then he heard shouting from another tunnel. Day stopped and listened. The other miners stopped too. Shouting usually meant something bad had happened. An accident. A collapse, or worse. Overseer Vrath emerged from the tunnel, dragging 5 humans behind him. The slaves were bound with energy chains that burned their skin wherever they touched. Vrath was a massive Dravik's, his reptilian scales dark green and covered in scars. He wore a necklace made from small white objects. Day had learned to his horror that they were human finger bones. Attention, slaves. Vrath's voice echoed through the mine shafts. All work stopped. Every human turned to look. They had no choice. Ignoring an overseer's command meant death. Vrath threw the 5 prisoners to the ground. These pathetic creatures were caught attempting to sabotage the crystal processing. They wanted to slow production. They wanted to hurt the Empire. Day recognized one of the prisoners. It was Park Tae. The old man looked at Day across the distance, and his expression was calm, almost peaceful. He mouthed 2 words, "Stay strong." "Let this be a lesson," Vrath said. He drew his energy blade. The weapon hummed with deadly power. Rebellion has only one punishment. The blade fell 5 times. 5 bodies dropped to the ground. Park Tae died without making a sound. Vrath looked at all the assembled slaves. "Get back to work, and remember what happens to those who defy the Empire." The miners returned to their tasks in silence, but Day could not move. He stared at Tae's body lying in the dirt. The old man who had shared stories, who had kept hope alive, who had been the closest thing to a father Day had ever known. Gone. Something inside Day broke in that moment. Or perhaps something woke up. He did not know which, but he knew he could not continue like this. Living was not enough anymore. He needed to fight back, even if it killed him. The shift finally ended after another 6 hours. The slaves were herded back to their sleeping quarters, a large cavern filled with metal bunks stacked 3 high. Day found his bunk and collapsed onto it. His body screamed for rest, but his mind would not stop racing. He waited until the lights dimmed for sleep cycle. Then he carefully climbed down from his bunk and made his way through the sleeping quarters. He had to see Bora. He had to tell her about Tay. The processing plant was connected to the mines through a series of maintenance tunnels. Day knew these tunnels well. He had explored them during previous sleep cycles when he could not sleep. The Draviks rarely patrolled them, because they were too small for the large reptilian guards to move through comfortably. He found Bora in the processing control room, working a late shift. She looked up in surprise when he entered. Bora was 24 years old, but she looked older. The work aged everyone quickly. Still, she had their mother's face, or so Tay had once told Day. He had no memory of his mother to confirm it. Day, what are you doing here? If they catch you outside your quarters. Tay is dead, Day said flatly. Vrath executed him, and 4 others. Bora's face went pale. She had known Tay too. He had taught her to read using stolen data tablets. No, she whispered. Not Tay. Day sat down heavily. He told me to let go of dreams of escape. Hours before he was caught trying to sabotage the processing. He sacrificed himself, Bora said quietly. He wanted you to stop planning something foolish. So he did something foolish instead. The thought hit Dee like a physical blow. Had Tay died trying to save him, trying to show him that rebellion only led to death? I found something, Bora said suddenly. She looked around nervously, then pulled Day to a computer terminal. 3 days ago, I was running diagnostics on the deep excavation systems. There was an error in Sector 9, so I went down to check it myself. She pulled up a map on the screen. There is a chamber down there, Day. A hidden chamber. It is not on any Dravik's maps. And inside there is equipment, technology, but not Dravik's technology. Day stared at the map. What do you mean? I mean, someone else was here before the Draviks. Someone built that chamber and left things behind, including this. She pulled out a small data crystal from her pocket. It contains a star map and coordinates to a place called the Sanctuary of the First Flame. Before Day could ask more questions, alarms blared throughout the complex. Red lights flashed. Bora quickly hid the data crystal. Accident in Processing Bay 7, a mechanical voice announced. All technicians report immediately. I have to go, Bora said. Take the crystal, hide it. We will talk more later. Day took the crystal and left through the maintenance tunnels. His mind was spinning. A hidden chamber. Ancient technology. A sanctuary. What did it all mean? He made it back to the sleeping quarters without being caught. But as he climbed into his bunk, he saw Overseer Vrath standing in the doorway watching the slaves sleep. The Draviks' eyes scanned the room slowly, as if searching for something specific. Those cold reptilian eyes locked onto Day for a long moment. Then Vrath smiled, showing his sharp teeth, and walked away. Day did not sleep that night. He clutched the data crystal in his hand and thought about Park Tay, about rebellion, about the hidden chamber, and about what came next. 2 days later, during the morning shift, an explosion rocked Processing Bay 7. Bora had been trying to quietly fix a malfunction, but the equipment overloaded. 3 technicians died instantly. Bora survived but was badly injured. Dee heard about the accident during break time. He immediately tried to go to the medical bay, but the guards stopped him. Slaves were not allowed to leave their assigned areas without permission. He waited, desperate and terrified, until the shift ended. Then he ran to the medical bay. He found Bora lying on a bed, her left arm badly burned. But she was alive. I am fine, she said when she saw the fear on his face. It was an accident. Just an accident. But Overseer Vrath did not see it that way. He arrived at the medical bay with 4 guards. The human Bora caused major damage to Imperial property. 3 loyal technicians died because of her incompetence. It was an equipment failure, one of the Dravik's medical staff protested. I have reviewed the logs. The human is not at fault. Vrath ignored the protest. She will be sent to the serpent pits as punishment. No! Day stepped forward without thinking. I will go instead. My sister was hurt. She was trying to prevent a bigger disaster. I will take her punishment. Vrath studied Day with interest. You would volunteer for the pits? You know what they are? Day knew. The serpent pits were where the Draviks kept their war beasts. Slaves sent there were thrown into the pits as food for the creatures. No one survived the pits. Yes, Day said. I volunteer? Vrath smiled his terrible smile. How noble. How very human. Your compassion makes you weak. But I accept your offer. Perhaps watching you die will teach your sister a valuable lesson about the cost of failure. The guards grabbed Day. Bora screamed and tried to get up, but her injuries prevented her.
No, Day, no.
Stay strong, Day told her, echoing Parktay's final words to him. Then the guards dragged him away. They took him deep below the mines to levels Day had never seen before. The air grew hotter and harder to breathe. Finally, they reached a massive circular pit carved into the rock. The walls were smooth and impossibly high. There was no way to climb out. The guards threw Day into the pit. He landed hard and felt something crack in his ribs. Pain exploded through his chest. He stood slowly looking around. The pit was dark except for a faint red glow from cracks in the walls. He expected to hear the sounds of war beasts. Growling. Movement. Something. But there was only silence. Then from the deepest shadow in the pit, two enormous eyes opened. They glowed like molten gold. And a voice spoke directly into Day's mind. You are not the first human to find me, child of Earth. But you may be the last chance for both our kinds. Day stared as the creature moved forward into the light. It was massive, easily 30 meters long. Its body was covered in crystalline scales that shimmered with inner fire. Wings, tattered and damaged, lay folded against its sides. It looked like the ancient dragons from Parktay's stories, but made of living starfire. What are you? Day whispered. I am Kalzith, last of the Paranthor. The beings your oppressors call Skyfire Kings, and you, Kang Day, are going to help me escape this prison. In return, I will give you something the Draviks fear more than anything. What? Kalzith's golden eyes burned with ancient fury. Freedom. Day stared at the massive creature before him. His broken ribs throbbed with every breath, but pain seemed unimportant now. A dragon made of crystal and fire was speaking directly into his mind. You want my help? Day asked carefully. I am just a slave. I have no power here. Kalzith moved closer, and Day could feel heat radiating from the creature's scales. You have more power than you know, human. Your kind and mine were allies once. Long before the Draviks rewrote history, some humans still carry the old blood. The gift that lets you hear my thoughts. You are one of those humans. I do not understand, Day said. The Draviks have ruled for 3 generations. There are no stories about dragons or alliances. Exactly as they planned, Kalzith replied. The dragon's voice in Day's head was deep and old, filled with sadness. The Draviks hunted my kind to near extinction. They stole our fire to power their machines. They destroyed your homeworld and enslaved your people, and they erased all memory of what came before. Day thought about Parktay's stories, about Earth and human cities and freedom. Were those real memories passed down or just dreams? If we were allies, why did you abandon us? Because we were dying, Kalzith said. The Draviks' weapons were too strong. We fled to survive. It was cowardice dressed as strategy. We told ourselves we would return when we were stronger. But we never did. Until now, I am the only one of my kind left in this cursed system. How did they capture you? I was young and foolish. I thought I could rescue some of your people from a transport ship. Instead, I was trapped and brought here. For 12 years, I have been chained in this pit, too weak to break free. The Draviks use energy bonds that drain my strength. But you can help me. Day looked up at the edge of the pit far above. Even if I could free you, how would we escape? The entire mine complex is guarded. There are defense ships in orbit. We would be killed before we got anywhere. Do you wish to live as a slave forever? Kalzith asked. Or do you wish to die trying to be free? He thought about Parktay's execution, about Bora lying injured in the medical bay, about 28 years of digging crystals from stone until his hands bled. I want to be free, he said quietly, but I will not leave my sister behind. Then we make a plan, Kalzith said. But first you must trust me. The dragon lowered his massive head. Place your hand on my scales. Day hesitated, then reached out and touched Kalzith's crystalline scales. The moment his skin made contact, his mind exploded with images and sensations. He saw worlds he had never imagined. He saw humans and Paranthor flying together through space. He saw massive battles and terrible losses. He saw Earth before the conquest, green and blue and beautiful, and he saw the sanctuary, a hidden place where humans still lived free, where others of Kelsith's kind waited in hiding. "The coordinates your sister found," Kelsith said. "They lead to that place, but we cannot reach it while trapped here." Day pulled his hand back, his head spinning. "The energy chains that hold you, where are they controlled from?" "The power grid for this entire section of the mine. If it were to fail during the night cycle, when fewer guards are present, my chains would deactivate for approximately 7 minutes before the backup systems engage." 7 minutes, Day repeated. "Could you break free in that time?" "If I still had my strength, yes. But I am weak from years of captivity. However, if you could bring me starfire crystals, I could absorb their energy. 3 or 4 crystals would give me enough strength to tear these chains apart." Day's mind raced. He knew where crystals were stored. He knew the guard patterns thanks to his observations. And he knew something else. The night cycle change happens in 6 hours. During the shift change, there is a 15-minute window when the storage areas are less guarded. "You would do this?" Kelsith asked. "You understand that if you fail, Overseer Vrath will not simply kill you. He will make your death last for days." "I know," Day said. "But I also know I cannot go back to the life I had before. Tay died showing me that. So let us both be foolish together." Kelsith made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Very well, Kangday. Let us burn the Dravix's precious mine to ash." The guards eventually came and pulled Day from the pit. He pretended to be terrified and broken. They threw him back into the general slave quarters, assuming the war beasts had simply not been hungry enough to kill him yet. They would return him to the pit tomorrow for another attempt. Day found his bunk and waited. He needed to reach Bora, but she was still in the medical bay. He could not risk going there during active hours, so he waited for the night cycle, counting the minutes until the shift change. When the lights finally dimmed, Day moved. He slipped through the maintenance tunnels again, moving quickly but carefully. He reached the medical bay and found Bora sleeping, her burned arm wrapped in bandages. He gently shook her awake. She nearly screamed in surprise, but he covered her mouth. "It is me, we do not have much time." "Day, how did you survive the pits?" "There are no war beasts in the pits," Dee whispered. "There's something else. Something that can help us escape. But I need you to do something for me." He quickly explained about Kelsith and the plan. Bora's eyes grew wider with each word. "You want to shut down the power grid? That will alert every guard in the complex." "That is the point," Day said. In chaos people make mistakes, and we can slip away. This is insane." "Yes, but are you willing to help?" Bora looked at her injured arm. She thought about the explosion that had killed 3 people. She thought about watching Day being dragged away to die. Then she nodded. "Yes, but we cannot just save ourselves. We need to get as many others out as possible." Dee had not considered this. "How?" "The transport ships in Bay 4. They are used to move processed crystals to the orbital stations. If we can steal one during the chaos, we could fit maybe 50 people inside." "Can you fly a transport ship?" "No, but Shin Yuna can. She was training as a pilot before the Dravix caught her. She works in the loading bay." The plan was becoming more complicated, but also more real. "All right. Get Yuna and 50 people you trust. When the power fails, move to Bay 4. I will meet you there with Kelsith. You are putting a lot of faith in a dragon you just met. He is putting faith in me too," Day said. "Now I need to steal some crystals." The storage areas were located near the processing plants. Day made his way there through the maintenance tunnels. He could hear his heart pounding in his chest. If he was caught now, everything ended. He reached storage room 7 and carefully opened the access panel. Inside, racks of starfire crystals glowed softly. Each one was worth more than a human life to the Dravix. Day grabbed 4 crystals and stuffed them into a maintenance bag. Then he heard voices. Guards approaching. Day froze. He was trapped in the storage room with stolen crystals. If they opened the door, he was dead. The voices grew closer. Day looked around desperately. There was a ventilation shaft in the ceiling. He climbed onto the storage racks and pushed the shaft cover open. He pulled himself inside just as the door opened below. "Running a full inventory check," one guard said. "The overseer is paranoid after the processing accident." "We should just kill all the humans and use robots," the other guard replied. "Less trouble." Day held his breath and remained perfectly still. The guards moved through the room, checking the racks. After what felt like an eternity, they left and locked the door behind them. Day waited 5 more minutes, then climbed back down and slipped out through the maintenance access. He had the crystals. Now he needed to reach Kalesith before the shift change ended. He ran through the tunnels back to the pit level. The guards stationed there were bored and half asleep. They had no reason to expect anyone to willingly approach the serpent pits. Day found a service entrance that led to the pit's lower levels. He climbed down using the maintenance ladders, his broken ribs screaming with each movement. Finally, he reached the bottom and called out softly. Kalesith, the golden eyes appeared in the darkness. You succeeded? Day pulled out the 4 crystals. They cast flickering light across the pit. Will these be enough? Bring them here. Day approached the dragon and held out the crystals. Kalesith opened his mouth and Day saw flames burning in the dragon's throat. He tossed the crystals into Kalesith's mouth one by one. The effect was immediate. Light exploded from Kalesith's scales. The dragon's body seemed to grow brighter and larger. Energy crackled across his wings. Yes, Kalesith hissed. Yes, I remember this feeling. The strength returns. The power grid shuts down in 2 hours, Day said. Can you be ready? I will be ready, will you? Day thought about Bora and the 50 slaves who would be waiting in Bay 4, about escaping this prison he had known his entire life, about flying through space on a dragon's back. I have to be. Then climb onto my back, Kalesith said. When the chains fall, we move immediately. There will be no second chances. Day climbed onto the dragon's back, settling between 2 of the massive crystalline scales. The position felt strangely natural, as if he had done this before in another life. They waited in silence. Day counted the minutes in his head. His body ached. His fear threatened to overwhelm him. But he held on. Finally, somewhere in the distance, Day heard Bora's voice over the complex's communication system. Attention all personnel. Critical malfunction in power distribution. Initiating emergency shutdown in 30 seconds. Here we go, Day whispered. The lights flickered once, twice, then the entire complex went dark. Kalesith roared and the sound shook the pit. The energy chain sparked and died. The dragon surged upward, his powerful legs launching them toward the pit's opening. They crashed through the weak barrier at the top and emerged into the mine complex. Guards shouted in confusion. Emergency lights cast everything in red. Kalesith's flames erupted, turning night into day. The dragon ran through the corridors, too large for the space, tearing through walls and barriers. Bay 4, Day shouted. We need to reach Bay 4. Kalesith smashed through 3 more walls and emerged into the massive loading bay. There Day saw Bora and Yuna with dozens of other slaves climbing into a large transport ship. Guards were rushing toward them. Stop them! Overseer Vrath's voice echoed through the bay. The reptilian commander appeared, his energy blade already drawn. Kalesith landed between Vrath and the transport ship. The dragon's mouth opened and cosmic fire poured out. Vrath barely rolled aside in time. The flames melted the metal floor where he had been standing. Get everyone inside, Day yelled to Bora. He slid down from Kalesith's back and ran toward the ship. More guards appeared, firing their weapons. The energy blast struck Kalesith's scales but did little damage. The dragon was fully powered now, nearly unstoppable. Day reached the transport and helped pull the last few slaves inside. Bora grabbed his arm. Get in! Yuna has the engine started. What about Kalesith? As if in answer, the dragon turned and ran toward them. I will fly alongside you, now go. Day jumped into the transport just as Yuna triggered the engines. The ship lurched forward, smashing through the bay doors and emerging into the open space above the asteroid field. Behind them, the mine complex's defenses activated. Turrets tracked their movement. Fighter ships launched from hidden bays. Klaxons blared across the entire Velthera system. Kalesith flew beside the transport, his wings fully extended now. The dragon was magnificent in flight, a creature of fire and crystal cutting through space. We have pursuit, Yuna shouted from the pilot seat. 6 fighters enclosing fast. Get us into the asteroid field, Day commanded. They are bigger ships. They cannot maneuver as well. Yuna dove toward the dense cluster of rotating asteroids. The transport shook as it weaved between the massive rocks. The fighters followed, firing plasma cannons. One blast clipped the transport's hull and warning lights flashed on the control panel. Kalesith turned and flew directly at the pursuing fighters. His fire struck 2 of them, sending the ship spinning into asteroids. But more fighters were coming. Dozens of them. We cannot outrun them, Yuna said. The transport is too slow. Day saw a massive asteroid ahead, one with a complex system of tunnels running through it. There, fly through that tunnel system. Kalesith, meet us on the other side. Yuna guided the transport into the dark tunnels. The fighters followed, but the tight spaces limited their ability to fire. One fighter scraped against the tunnel wall and exploded. They emerged on the far side of the asteroid. Kalsith was waiting. "We need to jump," the dragon said in Day's mind. "Use the quantum rift." "We do not have quantum drive technology," Day protested. "I do. Follow my path exactly. If you deviate, the rift will tear your ship apart." Day told Yuna what Kalsith had said. The pilot looked terrified but nodded. "I will follow him." Kalsith flew ahead and space itself began to ripple around the dragon. A crack appeared in reality, glowing with impossible colors. Kalsith dove into the rift and vanished. "Now!" Day shouted. Yuna pushed the throttle to maximum and followed Kalsith into the quantum rift. The transport shook violently. Some of the slaves screamed. Reality twisted around them, and for a moment Day felt like he was being pulled apart and reassembled. Then they emerged into normal space. The Velthara system was gone. They were somewhere else entirely. A dead-looking planet hung in the void before them. "Where are we?" Bora whispered. Kalsith appeared beside the transport, his voice calm in Day's mind. "Welcome to Ashvar Prime. Welcome to the sanctuary." As Day watched, the planet's surface shimmered. The illusion fell away, revealing a hidden structure. A massive space station, ancient and beautiful, emerged from concealment. "You are home," Kalsith said. "You are finally home." Day looked at the 50 freed slaves around him, at Bora, smiling despite her pain, at the impossible sanctuary ahead. They had done it. They had escaped. But even as relief flooded through him, he knew this was only the beginning. The Draviks would hunt them. Vrath would never stop. And somewhere in the Velthara system, thousands of humans still lived in chains. The fight for freedom had started, but it was far from over. The sanctuary was larger than Day had imagined. As the transport ship docked inside the hidden station, he stared through the viewport at corridors and chambers carved into the asteroid's heart. Lights glowed softly along the walls. Plants grew in artificial gardens. Real plants, green and alive. Day had never seen such things before. "This place has been hidden for 20 years, Kalsith explained as they disembarked. "Built by the first humans who escaped Dravik's control. A place to heal. A place to plan. A place to hope." 3 people waited for them in the docking bay. The first was a woman with sharp eyes and gray hair. She wore a uniform that looked almost military. The second was a man with oil stains on his hands and a tool belt around his waist. The third was younger, a woman with quick movements and suspicious eyes. "Kalsith," the older woman said, "you brought more refugees, and you look healthier than I have seen you in years." "I had help," Kalsith said. "This is Kang Day. He freed me from the serpent pits." The woman studied Day carefully. "I am Yun Jiwoo. I command the resistance forces here. This is Lee Minho, our chief engineer, and Choi Suman, intelligence officer." Day bowed slightly, unsure how to act around these people. They were humans, but they carried themselves differently than slaves. They stood straight. They looked others in the eye. They were free. "Welcome to the sanctuary," Jiwoo said. "You and your people are safe here. Medical teams will treat anyone who needs care. We have food and clean quarters prepared." Bora stepped forward, supporting her injured arm. "How many others are here?" "Currently 312 humans," Minho said. "We have been slowly extracting people from Dravik's territory for 2 decades. 50 more at once is our largest single rescue." "It is not enough," Day said quietly. "There are thousands still in the mines, in the processing plants, scattered across the system." "We know," Jiwoo said, her voice sad. "We do what we can. But the Draviks are too strong. We rescue who we can and survive. That is all we can do." "No," Day said. "It is not." Suman stepped forward, her eyes narrowing. "You have been here for 5 minutes and already you think you know better?" "I know what slavery feels like," Day replied. "I know what it is like to watch people die. To feel powerless. If all we do is hide and save a few dozen people every year, then the Draviks have already won." "He is right," Kalsith said. The dragon had curled up in a corner of the docking bay, but his golden eyes watched everything. "The time for hiding is ending. The Draviks grow stronger every day. Soon they will find this place, and then there will be nowhere left to hide." Jiwoo exchanged glances with Minho and Suman. "Come, we should discuss this somewhere more private. Your people need rest, but you and I should talk." They walked through the station corridors. Day saw children playing in one of the common areas. Real children laughing and running. He had forgotten that was possible. In the mines, children worked like adults. There was no time for play. Jiwoo led them to a command center filled with computers and display screens. Star maps covered the walls. Day saw the Velthera system marked in red. Other systems were marked in different colors. The Draviks control 47 star systems, Jiwoo explained. They have enslaved 12 different species. Humans are just the latest. The Empire is vast and powerful. We are 300 people hiding in a rock. What about allies? Day asked. The other enslaved species. Have you contacted them? Most species broke quickly, Suman said. They accepted slavery within a generation. Some even serve the Draviks willingly now, hoping for better treatment. But not humans, Minho added with something like pride. Humans are stubborn. We refuse to forget what we were. That is why the Draviks hate us so much. Day thought about Park Tae's stories, about Bora teaching slaves to read in secret, about his own journal carved in stone. Yes, humans remembered. Kael'Zith said there are other Piranthor here. Jiwoo nodded. 3 others, all wounded or old. They came here separately over the years seeking refuge. With Kael'Zith we have 4 Skyfire kings, but they are not an army. Show me, Day said. They took him deeper into the station, to a vast chamber with a ceiling that opened to space. 3 dragons rested there. One was ancient, his scales dull with age. One was missing part of her wing. One was smaller and looked nervous. Virith, Rinthia, and Gorvan, Kael'Zith said, introducing them. My brothers and sisters in exile. Day approached them carefully. All 3 dragons watched him with those same golden eyes. Can you all speak to minds like Kael'Zith does? Only to those with the gift, the Ancient One, Virith said. His mental voice was like dry paper. Fewer and fewer humans carry it now. The Draviks breeding programs have tried to eliminate the old bloodlines. But you have it strongly, Rinthia said. Her voice was sharp and angry. I can feel it burning in you. The rage, the need for justice. You want to hurt them as they have hurt you. Yes, Day admitted. Is that wrong? It is human, she replied. And it is exactly what we need. They returned to the command center. More people had gathered. Yuna was there, the pilot who had flown the transport. Kim Hajun was there too, a young man who had been rescued from the mines 3 years earlier and now worked as an engineer. The Draviks will be looking for us, Suman said. Overseer Vrath will want revenge. They may have already placed tracking devices on the transport ship. I have scanned it, Minho said. It is clean. But they know we came this direction. They will search this sector eventually. Then let them find something unexpected, Day said. An idea was forming in his mind. A crazy, impossible idea, but also the only idea that made sense. We cannot win by hiding. We cannot win by running, so we attack. Attack? Jiwoo shook her head. Attack what? Their fleets? Their bases? We would be destroyed, no. We attack their power source. The central crucible. The room went silent. Everyone stared at Day as if he had lost his mind. Minho spoke first. The central crucible processes all the starfire crystals from the Velthera system. It is the most heavily defended station in Dravik space. There are weapons platforms, shield generators, and entire fleets stationed nearby. It is impossible. It is suicide, Suman added. Exactly, Day said. That is why they will never expect it. The Draviks think we are scared slaves. They think we are broken. They believe we will run and hide. But what if we do the opposite? What if we strike at the heart of their power? And achieve what? Jiwoo asked. Even if we somehow destroyed the crucible, they would rebuild it. We would all die for nothing. Not nothing, Kael'Zith said. The dragon had been quiet, but now his voice filled everyone's mind. The crucible processes crystals for their entire war fleet. Without it, their ships cannot refuel. Their weapons cannot recharge. It would take them months to rebuild. And in that time, the slave populations across their empire would see that the Draviks can be hurt. They would see hope. Hope does not win wars, Suman said. No, Day agreed. But it starts them. The debate continued for hours. Some supported the plan. Others called it madness. Jiwoo was torn between her desire to strike back and her responsibility to protect the people in the sanctuary. The weapons platforms opened fire. Energy beams cut through space like deadly lightning. Kael'Zith rolled to avoid the first barrage. and Day held on tightly to the dragon's crystalline scales. Behind them, Virith, Rinthia, and Gorvon split off in different directions, drawing fire away from the transport ship. "Target the platform clusters," Day called out through the bond language. His thoughts connected with all 4 dragons simultaneously. It felt like his mind was stretching in impossible directions, but he held the link. Rinthia dove toward 3 weapons platforms grouped together. Her mouth opened and cosmic fire poured out. The flames struck the first platform's shield, and the barrier held for exactly 2 seconds before melting away. The platform exploded in a ball of white-hot metal. Patrol ships moved to intercept. They were smaller and faster than the dragons, but far less powerful. Gorvon, the youngest Piranthor, chased one ship through a series of tight maneuvers. The ship fired missiles, but the dragon dodged them effortlessly and caught the ship with his claws. Metal screamed as Gorvon tore the vessel apart. "Virith, the cruiser is targeting the transport," Day warned. The ancient dragon banked hard and positioned himself between the heavy cruiser and Yuna's ship. Energy cannons fired and Virith's shields absorbed the impact, but the old dragon was already weak. Each hit drained more of his strength. "I can hold them," Virith's voice was strained. "But not forever. You must hurry." Kael'thas dove toward the crucible's main hull. The station was enormous, larger than some of the asteroids in the minefield. Its surface bristled with defensive turrets. All of them tracked Kael'thas's approach. "This is going to hurt," Kael'thas warned. The turrets fired as one. Dozens of energy beams converged on the dragon. Kael'thas's shields flared and crackled. One beam punched through and scored a line across his left wing. The dragon roared in pain but did not slow down. They crashed into the hull near a docking bay entrance. Kael'thas's claws tore through the metal doors like paper. Alarms blared throughout the station. Day jumped from Kael'thas's back and ran toward the breach. Yuna brought the transport in right behind them. The ship's landing was rough, scraping against the torn metal. The cargo door dropped open and Bora led the strike team out. "We have 30 minutes before the explosives are armed," Haijun shouted over the alarms. "Follow me!" The team ran through the crucible's corridors. Dravix guards appeared firing plasma rifles. Day had picked up a weapon from one of the fallen patrol ships. He had never fired a gun before, but desperation made him learn quickly. He pulled the trigger and the energy bolt struck a guard in the chest. The guard fell and Dave felt sick. He had killed someone. Yes, the Dravix were the enemy. Yes, they had enslaved his people. But taking a life still felt wrong in his gut. "Keep moving." Bora pulled him forward. "Do not think about it now." They reached a junction. Haijun checked his map. "The main crystal storage is 2 levels down. But to get there, we need to go through the processing center." "The one with all the workers?" Suman asked. "Yes, but they will all be Dravix. No slaves work inside the crucible." They descended through emergency stairwells. Behind them, they could hear more guards giving chase. The team moved quickly, but the Dravix knew the station better. They were being herded. The processing center was a massive chamber filled with conveyor belts and sorting machines. Starfire crystals moved through complex systems, being analyzed and graded. Dozens of Dravix workers operated the machinery. The workers saw the human strike team and panicked. Some ran, some tried to hide. A few grabbed emergency weapons. "Do not shoot unless they shoot first," Day ordered. "We are here for the crystals, not them." But one Dravix worker, braver or more foolish than the others, fired a plasma pistol. The shot went wide, striking a crystal processor. The machine exploded, sending shrapnel everywhere. The strike team took cover behind machinery. Return fire was sporadic. Most of the Dravix workers were not soldiers. They did not want to die for their empire. "This way," Haijun pointed to a heavy door on the far side of the chamber. "That leads to the main storage vault." They made a break for it, running across the open floor. Plasma bolts zipped past them. Day felt one graze his shoulder, burning through his sleeve. The pain was sharp and immediate, but he kept running. They reached the door and Bora immediately started working on the electronic lock with her tools. "I need 2 minutes." "We do not have 2 minutes," Suman shouted. More guards were pouring into the chamber from multiple entrances. Outside the station, the space battle intensified. Virith was struggling. The ancient dragon had taken too many hits. His shields failed and an energy beam struck him directly. Virith's roar of pain echoed through the bond language into Day's mind. "Virith is down." Gorvon's voice was panicked. "He is falling toward the planet." "I am going after him." Gorvon broke formation and dove toward the falling dragon. "No, stay in position," Rinthia commanded. "We cannot afford to." But Gorvan was already gone, racing after Virith. That left only 2 dragons against the entire defense grid. Day, we are being overwhelmed, Kelsith's voice was strained. Whatever you are doing in there, do it faster. Almost. Got it. Bora's hands worked frantically on the lock. Sweat poured down her face. There! The door hissed open. Beyond was the main storage vault, a chamber filled with thousands upon thousands of starfire crystals. Each one glowed softly. Together they illuminated the room like a galaxy of dying stars. Plant the explosives, Hajun ordered. We have 20 minutes until detonation. The team spread out, placing explosive charges on the support columns and main storage racks. Day helped Bora with the technical work, linking all the charges to a central timer. That was when Overseer Vrath appeared. The reptilian commander stood in the doorway, flanked by a dozen elite guards. His energy blade hummed in his hand. He looked at Day and smiled his terrible smile. I knew you would come, slave, Vrath said. I knew your human arrogance would bring you here. Did you think you could destroy the crucible? Did you think you were clever? I think we already did destroy it, Day replied, pointing to the explosives placed throughout the vault. In 18 minutes, this entire station becomes dust. Vrath laughed. No. In 18 minutes, the station's self-destruct sequence will trigger. I activated it the moment you docked. But not just this station. The blast will create a chain reaction that destroys the nearby mining asteroids. Every human slave in the system will die. 30,000 lives ended because of your rebellion. The words hit Day like a physical blow. You are insane. Why would you kill your own workers? Because if I cannot have them, no one will, Vrath said simply. The Emperor has authorized complete extermination of your species anyway. This just moves the timeline forward. And you, Kang Day, will die knowing that you murdered your own people. Day felt rage boiling up inside him. This monster had enslaved, tortured, and murdered countless humans. And now he would kill 30,000 more just to prove a point. Can we stop the self-destruct? Bora asked quietly. The system is biometrically locked to Vrath's genetic signature, Hajun said, his face pale. We would need him to deactivate it, or we would need someone to manually override it from the station's core reactor. The core is at the center of the station, Suman said. It would take at least 10 minutes to reach it, and whoever goes would not have time to escape before detonation. They all understood what that meant. Someone would have to stay behind. Someone would have to sacrifice themselves to save the mining slaves. I will do it, Day said immediately. No, Bora said firmly. I will. Bora, no. You are the one who can speak to the dragons, Bora said. Her voice was steady despite the tears in her eyes. You are the one who can lead the resistance. I am just a technician. Let me do something that matters. You matter, Day said desperately. You are my sister. You are all I have left, Bora smiled sadly. That is why I have to do this. Because you would die for me without hesitation. Let me be brave too, just once. Before Day could respond, Vrath attacked. The Overseer moved with inhuman speed, his energy blade cutting through the air. One of the strike team members fell, cut down before he could react. The vault erupted in chaos. Energy weapons fired in all directions. Crystals shattered, releasing their stored energy in dangerous bursts. Hajun threw one of the explosive charges at the elite guards, and the blast sent several of them flying. Bora grabbed Day's arm. Get to the transport. Get everyone out. I will handle the override. I cannot leave you. You have to.
Bora pushed him toward the exit.
Go, that is an order. Suman grabbed Day and pulled him away. She is right. We need to evacuate now. The remaining strike team members fought their way back through the processing center. Behind them, they could hear Vrath roaring orders to his guards. Day looked back once and saw Bora running in the opposite direction, toward the station's core, toward her death. They reached the docking bay where the transport waited. Yuna already had the engines running. Everyone aboard, now! Day climbed onto Kelsith's back instead. Get them out of here. I am going after Vrath. Day, there is no time, Suman shouted. Then I will be fast. Kelsith launched from the docking bay before anyone could stop them. The dragon flew through the crucible's internal corridors, following Day's directions through the bond language. They burst into the crystal storage vault. Vrath was still there, watching his guards try to disarm the explosives. The Overseer looked up in surprise as a dragon crashed through the wall. You just cannot leave, can you? Vrath said. You humans and your stupid emotions. Your stupid loyalty. You are right, Day said. We are loyal. We are emotional. And we never ever forgive. Kael'th's fire filled the vault. Vrath barely activated his personal shield in time. The flames washed around him, melting everything nearby. The elite guards were not so lucky. They had no shields. They died screaming. Vrath charged at Kael'th, his energy blade cutting deep into the dragon's shoulder. Kael'th roared and snapped at the overseer. But Vrath was too fast. He had augmented his body with starfire crystal implants. The crystals glowed beneath his scales, giving him unnatural speed and strength. You cannot win. Vrath slashed again, cutting another line across Kael'th's chest. I am superior. Enhanced, perfect. Day slid down from Kael'th's back and grabbed a fallen plasma rifle. He fired at Vrath, but the overseer's shield absorbed the shots. Vrath turned and laughed. The slave thinks he is a warrior now. Vrath rushed at Day. His blade came down and Day barely rolled aside. The blade struck the floor, cutting through metal like butter. Day scrambled backward, firing the rifle repeatedly. The shields held. Then Day remembered what Minho had taught him about starfire crystals. They stored energy. They released energy when broken, and they could overload. Day ran toward one of the main storage racks. He fired the plasma rifle at the crystals, not at Vrath. The crystals shattered and energy exploded outward. More crystals broke in a chain reaction. The entire vault began to glow with dangerous light. What are you doing? Vrath's voice held the first hint of fear. You will kill us both. At least I will take you with me, Day replied. Kael'th grabbed Day with his claws, surprisingly gentle despite the dragon's size. Hold on! The dragon flew straight up, smashing through the vault ceiling, then through the next floor and the next. Behind them, the crystal cascade reached critical mass. The explosion caught them as they burst out of the crucible's hull. The force of the blast sent them tumbling through space. Day's vision went white. His ears rang. He could not breathe. Then Kael'th's shield extended around him, creating a bubble of air. Did we get him? Day gasped. He is dead, Kael'th confirmed. But so is your sister soon if she does not abort. Day activated his communication device. Bora! Bora, can you hear me? Static. Then Bora's voice, weak and distant. I am at the core. I am overriding the self-destruct now. The mining stations will be safe. Get out of there! You still have time. No, I do not, Bora said softly. The radiation levels here are already lethal. I was exposed the moment I entered, but I have stopped the chain reaction. The slaves will live. Bora, please. I love you, my brother, Bora said. I am proud of you. You freed me. You freed all of us. Now make sure humanity survives. Promise me. Tears streamed down Day's face. I promise. Then I am content. Goodbye, Day. The communication cut out. 30 seconds later, the central crucible exploded. The blast was so bright it briefly outshone the system's sun. Shockwaves rippled outward, destroying the remaining weapons platforms and patrol ships. The Dravik's defense fleet was gone. The crucible was gone, and Bora was gone. The transport ship pulled alongside Kael'th. Through the viewport, Day could see Suman and Hajun and Yuna, all watching him with grief in their eyes. They had lost friends too. Everyone had lost someone. We need to return to the sanctuary, Suman said over the comm. The Dravik's fleet will be here soon. But Day could not move. He sat on Kael'th's back and stared at the debris field that had been the crucible. Somewhere in that wreckage was his sister, the last family he had. She saved 30,000 lives, Kael'th said gently. She will be remembered as a hero. I do not want her to be a hero, Day said bitterly. I want her to be alive. Rinthia flew alongside them. Gorvan was with her, carrying Virith's body. The ancient dragon had died from his wounds. 2 deaths in one battle, 2 prices paid for this small victory. They made the jump back to the sanctuary in silence. No one spoke. There was nothing to say that would make the loss hurt less. When they arrived, Jiwoo was waiting with news. The decoy ship worked. The Dravik's fleet followed it away from here. We have time. But I have intercepted communications from the Dravik's Emperor. She played the recording. The Emperor's voice was cold and final. The human rebellion cannot be tolerated. I hereby authorize the final solution. All human worlds, all colonies, all work camps will be sterilized. Humanity will be extinct within the solar month. Send every available fleet. Show no mercy. Day listened to the words and felt numb. They had crippled the Dravik's ability to refuel their war fleets. But it was not enough. The Empire was too vast. they would still have enough power to exterminate humanity. 50 war fleets were being diverted from other territories. We cannot win, Hajun said quietly. We hurt them, but we cannot stop them. Then we find help, Kalzith said. We find my people. The Piranthor Exodus fleet. How? Jiwoo asked. They have been gone for 300 years. They could be dead. They could be on the other side of the galaxy. They are not dead, Kalzith said with certainty, and I know how to summon them. There is an ancient artifact, the Beacon of First Flame. It was hidden on Earth before the conquest. If we can retrieve it and activate it, the Exodus fleet will return. Earth is a fortress world now, Suman said, the most heavily defended planet in the Dravix Empire. Breaking into the Crucible was suicide. Infiltrating Earth is beyond impossible. Day stood up. He thought about Bora's last words. Make sure humanity survives. He had made a promise. Then we do the impossible, Day said. Again. Because that is what humans do. We survive, we fight, and we never ever surrender. He looked at each of them in turn. At Jiwoo, the commander. At Minho, the engineer. At Suman, the spy. At Hajun and Yuna and all the others who had risked everything. My sister died to save 30,000 slaves. Day continued. Park Tae died trying to teach me hope. Virith died protecting us. I will not let their deaths be meaningless. We are going to Earth. We are going to find that beacon, and we are going to bring back the Skyfire Kings. And if we fail? Someone asked. Then we die knowing we tried, Day said simply. That is more than the Dravix ever gave us. They thought we were broken. Let us prove them wrong one more time. Kalzith lowered his head and Day rested his hand on the dragon's scales. Through the bond language, he felt the grief and determination mixing together. They had both lost friends today. They had both paid prices they could never recover. But they were not done fighting. Not yet. The journey to Earth would be their most dangerous mission yet. But if they succeeded, they could change everything. They could save humanity. They could honor everyone who had died. They just had to do the impossible again. 6 weeks had passed since the destruction of the Central Crucible. 6 weeks since Bora died. 6 weeks of preparation for a mission that everyone knew was suicide. Day stood in the command center of the sanctuary, staring at the holographic display of Earth. His ancestral homeworld. The birthplace of humanity. He had dreamed of seeing it his entire life. Now he would finally get his wish, and the reality was a nightmare. The Dravix have transformed Earth into a military fortress, Suman explained, pointing to the tactical markers on the display. 43 orbital defense platforms, constant patrol routes by hunter-killer squadrons, and General Tharok commands the surface garrison. He is the Emperor's personal enforcer, ruthless and brilliant. Where is the beacon? Jiwoo asked. According to the ancient records we recovered, it is buried beneath the ruins of Seoul, Minho said. Inside a Piranthor temple, but the Dravix built a weapons manufacturing facility directly on top of it. Whether they know about the temple or it is just bad luck, we cannot say. We have to assume they know, Suman said. Tharok may be waiting for us to come? Day studied the maps. Seoul was on the eastern continent. The facility was heavily guarded. Even if they could land on Earth, getting inside would be nearly impossible. And getting out would be worse. The Dravix extermination fleets will reach the first human colonies in 6 weeks, Jiwoo said quietly. If we do not have help by then, billions will die. No pressure, Hajun muttered. The resistance fleet had grown slightly. A few more refugee ships had arrived, bringing the total to 37 vessels. Minho had retrofitted them with weapons and shields using Starfire crystal technology, salvaged from destroyed Dravix patrol ships. But 37 ships against an empire was still nothing. We need a distraction, Yuna said. She had been promoted to lead pilot after her performance at the Crucible. Something to draw the orbital defenses away from the landing zone. The resistance fleet can provide that, Jiwoo said. We attack the defense platforms on the opposite side of the planet. Make them think we are trying to break through there. That puts all our ships at risk, Minho pointed out. Everything is at risk, Jiwoo replied. But if Day can reach the beacon and activate it, none of that matters. The Piranthor Exodus fleet is our only hope. Kalzith had been lying quietly in the corner of the command center listening. The dragon had healed from his wounds at the Crucible, but something had changed. He was quieter now, more serious. Losing Virith had affected him deeply. The Exodus fleet will come, Kalzith said. I know my people. When they hear the beacon's call, they will return. The question is whether we can survive long enough to activate it. Then let us make sure we do, Day said. The strike team assembled in the docking bay. Day looked at the faces around him. Hajun and Yuna, who had been with him since the Crucible. Sumin, whose intelligence work had kept them alive. A dozen others, all volunteers. All willing to die for this last desperate chance. Jiwoo approached Day privately.